Estimados amigos y amigas, friends and colleagues, let me start by thanking the Partnership for Climate Finance and Development for inviting me to contribute to this important session on the nexus between climate finance and development. With the recent release of the IPCC's Working Group 2 contribution to the Fifth Assessment Report, we are reminded once again that climate change poses a significant risk to countries and communities everywhere, but especially to the poor, vulnerable, and marginalized. The very foundation upon which to build stable growth is threatened, from water supply to food security to the natural resources that form the bedrock of our economies. Climate change puts all this at risk, and it puts all of our recent development gains at risk. The challenges of climate change and development are intimately linked in two directions. On the one side, limiting climate change in a timely fashion is fundamental to protecting what we have gained in development. On the other side, almost all measures to address climate change also increase the sustainability of development. Therefore, your partnership and your dialogue are crucial, and they come at a crucial moment. Let me be frank. We cannot afford to be confused any longer about the relationship between development finance and climate finance if we want to achieve the goals of both the development community and the climate talks. At the core of this challenge are questions about attribution and accounting in the space where finance for climate action overlaps with overseas development aid. The answers to these questions are difficult to arrive at because, I believe, the questions are posed as a false choice. In this case, a choice between whether climate finance competes with or is compatible with ODA. It is a false choice because there is clear evidence that climate action moves us closer to a low-carbon future that meets the food, water, and energy needs of billions of people without carbon pollution or depleting scarce natural resources. And this movement is also, at the same time, movement toward more sustainable development. Opening the world's largest solar power hospital in Haiti, where hospitals are desperately needed and electricity costs are very high, is both climate action and sustainable development. Innovative financing to make eco-efficient housing accessible to low-income families in Mexico is both climate action and sustainable development. Replacing open fires with efficient cook stoves in Kenya and across the continent of Africa is both climate action and sustainable development. The discussion whether $1 of support to developing countries is climate finance or development funding is analogous to the question whether a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable. A scientist has many reasons to prove it is a fruit. A cook has equally many ways to show it is a vegetable. In the end, the only truly important question is whether we can produce enough tomatoes to feed everyone. In the real world, it is the question of whether we can build enough hospitals, provide enough low-income housing, or replace enough open fires. What is important is how we increase our response to the needs in developing countries. And this depends on two factors: the levels of support and the smartness of that support. First, to the level of support. This year, ODA funding has hit a record high, and global economic recovery seems possible. This is good news. Meanwhile, industrialized countries have committed to climate finance, and delivery mechanisms like the Green Climate Fund are coming online to meet that commitment. This is also good news. We must build on this momentum to increase certainty and confidence in funding. Secondly, to the smartness of support. There is no doubt that development has become more expensive due to climate change. No amount of traditional public funding will meet those needs. Public funds must be intelligently used, not only for direct support, but also to encourage other sources of funding to flow. and that these have the needed impact. The climate finance community and the development community must join together to ensure that increasing levels of funds produce real, on-the-ground results in communities where it's needed. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. This meeting is a great opportunity for further constructive dialogue, to find common ground in principle and in practice, and to form a concrete foundation upon which we can build a better future for all. This generation must seize this opportunity and leave a legacy of low-carbon sustainable growth to future generations. Your dialogue and your partnership at this moment takes us one step closer to that goal. I thank you, and I wish you a very productive meeting.